Now here's an interesting little article linking libertarianism and the now infamous coffee cup in Game of Thrones. And it's funny to me because when I learned about what happened with the coffee cup mistake in Game of Thrones, I had the exact same thought as this author did, which is, if experts goof up something like this, then you don't want experts controlling and directing the lives or industries within a society. Now let me explain real quick. If you are on the set of Game of Thrones, you will be surrounded by experts, by masters in their field. You will have highly experienced people dedicated to the wardrobes, to the lighting, to camera work, to the stage design, and to the props used. You'll have a director, a producer, an executive producer, perhaps a large number of other actors, people operating cameras, etc. You have a room full of experts who are seasoned veterans in their profession, and they still manage to miss something obvious like this. Now, it's a Game of Thrones episode. This coffee cup isn't a big deal. It's not going to hurt anyone. It'll probably just make some people laugh, and we get on with our lives. So how the hell does this really connect to libertarian ways of thinking? Well, it should tell you that despite having experts, seasoned vets, and masters running something, things can still go wrong and glaring mistakes can still be made. Now, as I said, when it comes to a Game of Thrones episode, it's no big deal, but when it comes to seasoned politicians exerting control over entire complex industries that can drastically affect the lives of tens of millions of people, the results will be catastrophic. As complicated as creating a Game of Thrones episode might be, it is absolutely nothing in comparison to the complicated nature of running an entire industry, let alone an entire economy, and taking into account all possible situations, changes, circumstances, etc. for hundreds of millions of people. For example, I am sure Barack Obama is more intelligent than I am, and I mean that sincerely. It would not be a surprise to me to find out that that's true. He's much older, he has a hell of a lot more experience, he's gone through much more education than I have. I mean, I would be extremely arrogant to assume I am superior to him in terms of intelligence. But that being said, if you recall when he repeatedly, I believe it was 30 some odd times or so, he repeatedly said that if you like your insurance, you can keep your insurance. This was Obama's coffee cup. He had many, but this was one of them. But unfortunately, it wasn't just some amusing little thing found in a scene of a show. It threw millions of people's lives into chaos, and I am at a loss as to how he didn't see this coming. You draft a law putting extremely stringent mandates for health insurance policies, and you scratch your head and wonder why after the law is passed, an entire platoon of people lose their health insurance. This is an extremely intelligent individual, surrounded by other highly intelligent individuals, all failing miserably to predict what was going to happen with their law, and at the time, little old me was sitting there scratching my head, wondering, wait, how are tons of people not going to lose their health insurance? Well, it turns out that that was a good question to ask, and those who trusted the experts were left a little bit disappointed. Or how about back in the 90s, when luxury taxes were being proposed by tax experts and highly intelligent and experienced people within government? They figure, rich people can afford it, let's put a hefty tax on luxury items, yachts, $20,000 watches, private planes, etc. Now, one thing they didn't take into consideration, despite the fact that they were very intelligent, and again, I mean that very sincerely, one thing they didn't take into consideration is that not all rich people are multi-billionaires that can spend whatever they want, whenever they want, on whatever they want. Most rich people can actually see the bottom of their bank account, and they will react to an increase in prices. So these intelligent politicians pass a luxury tax. Rich people aren't comfortable with purchasing these luxury items anymore, so they stop, and guess what happens? These luxury items are just collecting dust, production halts, and throngs of middle-class people lose their jobs because their employment depended on the sale of luxury items. Yet again, intelligent people failing to forecast something that was obvious. Or how about Venezuela today? I am sure there are plenty of people within the Venezuelan financial and banking industry that know much more about the academic and mathematical side of monetary policy than I do. Yet they have still managed to hyperinflate away every last ounce of purchasing power that the Venezuelan citizenry had, and they've left the entire place in utter ruin. I am sure that Maduro had highly trained economists working with him, yet they still failed when it came to diversifying their economy and not being completely exposed to just one industry, that being the oil industry, of course. These are all the coffee cups of government, but like I said, their coffee cups are not benign little goof-ups. They are disastrous results that stem from the arrogance of man thinking they can act as a near godlike figure hovering over everyone and thinking they can effectively dictate how things should go for millions of people. That will only end one way, and it never looks good. But that's all for now. Like and subscribe and all that cool stuff, and peace out, my friends.